What's up with the squad? Back with another video. Y'all seeing the title is going down. Definitely want to say Happy Veterans Day. To all of there. And one thing about it, and I got to thinking, while starting this video is that prayers go out, to a lot, to a lot, people that's obviously going through. And I say this to, I've been seeing a lot, when it comes down to mental health, when it comes down to individuals that obviously aren't serving anymore, and those who are still, serving. I definitely want to, send my prayers out. People go through, a lot of things, tough things, especially the ones, definitely, that of, been in the military, in general. So definitely want to say that prayers go out to these families, these individuals. Y'all know within the shutdown, a lot of these when it comes to the military and things like that, of not seeing the paychecks and not things being a little off. I definitely send my prayers. I do want to say also that I have I put a GoFundMe up on my communities tab post. That GoFundMe is actually, it was a childhood friend's dad who passed away. Along, my dad, he was good friends with him. I definitely say best friend. Definitely. Definitely want to give out, that special shout out, and sending my prayers and condolences, to them. Like I said, y'all can check that out on my communities tab, and even if you don't have it, to send on that. I definitely appreciate, those prayers and stuff like that. Definitely need it. But definitely appreciate y'all. Much love to everyone. Let's jump right into it.
And the first question, sir.
Good morning, Senator. So you were critical of this shutdown from the outset, saying it never should have happened, never should have come to this, even at times criticizing your own party. So I want to ask you, why did you ultimately decide to support this agreement? And where do you stand on the growing number of Democrats who are calling for Leader Schumer to step down in light of the shutdown deal?
Oh, there's a lot there. Well, first of all, it's not like I agreed to that. I mean, I've been consistently. Now, remember, this all that went back to March. I effectively kind of led the charge now that it's wrong to shut our government down. And then enough of us realized that that's just too risky and that's too much chaotic. And then we kept it open. And I know there was a lot of backlash for that. And I declared back then, we'll be right back in the end of September. And I will be there too, because it's fundamentally the wrong thing. When you're confronting mass chaos, I don't think you should respond with more chaos.
Exactly.
Or fight with more chaos. It's like, we need to be the party of order and logic and now respond in a way. And now I refuse to weaponize the SNAP benefit for 42 million Americans, that rely on feeding themselves and their family, or making flying in America less safe. Or I refuse not to pay our military and all of the unions attached to all of this and people. So for me, it's like I don't agree with that tactic to respond the circumstances that we're confronting on this. I absolutely support. What? I'm sorry. What?
Oh, no, go ahead, Senator.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, it's like Democrats. A Democratic Party has to respond. That we have to have the ability to agree to disagree on some of these core issues right now. And now, right, for me, I think it was the wrong thing to do those things, because under this shutdown, no one was getting anything. There was no SNAP. There was no, healthcare extensions on those things around there too. So for me,
and I definitely want to say that I fully support him on what he's saying. One thing that I do want to say though, as far as the left go, he's one with a lot of common sense when it comes down to it. And I say that because there's been a lot of times that we've seen, in this past, days, I'm talking about days, this shutdown, and John Fetterman definitely has been one that has constantly been on top of it and having that common sense, rather than, oh, okay, let's do all this for ourselves. And that right there just goes to show you, a lot when it comes down to him, being in a sense fair. You're going to agree, you're going to disagree on a lot of things, but one thing about it, you have an American lives, that are literally getting affected by this. I seen my dad post something, and it's this whole thing, all, well, the Republicans, this, that, and the other, the other, and just it becomes too much. It becomes too much when there has been families that are going to these food banks that a lot of these families not even getting to eat. I know y'all seen the videos of the food banks literally only lasting an hour or two because the food is running out. There's people that actually need those, benefits, those SNAP benefits, that's not getting the SNAP benefits. There's individuals that obviously are serving in the military, protecting this country, literally going through it. We're not even, not to mention the mental state, that a lot of them, and then having to worry about that too. So a lot of that comes important with that. And I feel like when it comes to the left, they're only thinking of themselves when it comes down to it. They think of themselves and illegal aliens, I should say, more so, rather than Americans. And I don't like that whatsoever. I truly don't.
It's like reasonable Democrats can disagree on certain kinds of core things, but I hope we could all agree that chaos is the wrong response for the kinds of chaos that our nation has been in after the president's reelection.
And can I just follow up? Is Leader Schumer, in your mind, the right leader for this moment for Democrats?
I'm saying that it's like that's not really my concern right now. It's not like a leadership situation. It is, we are living in the backlash of the election. It's been effectively a year now. America decided to put us in the minority. And now in terms of leadership right now, what defines leadership for me? I think that's order and logic and describing people exactly where we're at. And now we were all energized by the election just last week. And now for me, I think it's like, hey, let's take the win on that. And now we know there's a lot of backlash to this kinds of chaos. And now voters are going to respond to more order and the more kinds of not violating our core values to plunge our country into chaos for 42 million Americans. Food security, that's really parts of the essence of kind of people that I fight for. Now we have to be able to disagree on these things. And if you can't, and now as a committed Democrat that vote 90% of the Democratic line, I mean, now like that might be a bigger problem with our party in some way, that a committed Democrat from the most difficult and purple state in the country says, hey, I'm trying to call balls and strikes in the middle of this chaos.
Well, Senator Bernie Sanders said the vote.
And one thing about it is that I love that he actually, they put him on here because I feel like a lot of people need to understand, truly what's going on, especially hearing from, a person of the Democratic Party. There are a lot of people that I have seen, though, in the comments itself of being highly disrespectful and, saying things about John Fetterman. And that's literally what happens. It sucks to say, but that's what happens when it comes down to somebody having that common sense and throwing out, the real about it. When I first started doing these videos, I'll tell y'all, I've done comedy, I've done sports, I've done rap music, country, rock. I've done any type of music you can possibly think of, even tap dancing and beatboxing, so doing all of that and seeing on how many people, when I started to learn about a lot of these things, I had a lot of, disrespectful people because of what, I would say or what I would be taught, and what I'll learn, about this whole process. And it just sucks because you have so many people that aren't really paying attention, that's so brainwashed to not see what's truly going on, around them. And I completely find it I find it insane, that so many people aren't understand what's really going on. You literally just had, even yesterday, Sonny Hostin. This the same person who absolutely said something totally different about Chuck Schumer, but then yesterday she said that it's time for him to go. So you're literally having this is more so of just childishness. When it comes to the left, and I truly don't understand it. Check it out.
Well, Senator Bernie Sanders said the vote was a horrific mistake. Governor Gavin Newsom called it pathetic and a surrender. Poll after poll found more Americans on both sides of the aisle blaming Republicans. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed the GOP. As you mentioned, Democrats had big wins last week, so you had momentum. Why give in now?
So
why bring a butter knife to a gunfight? Are you willing to gamble that the GOP will negotiate on health care in good faith once the government reopens? Because if that gamble is wrong, 500,000 Pennsylvanians that you represent, their health care costs will skyrocket if you are wrong. And I believe you are wrong.
Well,
so my thing is, let me explain something. This is my take on this. Before I play this video, so basically what they're telling me is that they'll rather have people. First of all, let's put it in this perspective. They'll rather want to keep it shut down to get what they want for illegal aliens. That's one of the main things. And have Americans, families not getting paid, SNAP benefits not eating, this, that, and other, all down the line. Rather than, okay, let's get them paid. Let's make sure Americans are eating, and we're going to figure this stuff out. That right there just goes to show y'all a lot when it comes down to how the left is working with this. It should have never went this long. It should have never went this long. But that's just my opinion on it.
First of all, MTG is quite literally the last person in America that I'm going to take advice or to get their kinds of my leadership and values from. And now if Democrats are celebrating crazy pants like that, then that's on them. And now I don't need a lecture. I don't need a lecture from whether it's Bernie or the governor in California, because Exactly. They are representing very deep blue kinds of populations. And a lot of those things were part of the extreme. And now remember, what really needs to win, the big win, is involving my state and other states and those things. And why have we arrived here after the election a year ago? We got to forget some of the things that cost us that election. Or now for me, it's like, that's why I'm trying to remind people that kinds of the extremism, we can't return to those kind of things and realize we need to find a way forward. And I would like to, rather than cite MTG, I'm going to cite one of the new governor-elects saying that my election is not a green light to continue the shutdown, because I promise you, this isn't a political game. It is viewed by many of us, but the reality is 42 million Americans now not sure where their next meal is going to come from, and because we vote like that, or people that haven't been paid for 5 weeks now, and that kinds of chaos.
Exactly.
Those workers have to borrow more than $500
Now they're trying to cut them off. Wow.
Dollars, from their credit union just to pay their bills now. So for me, we're in the middle of this.
Senator, I got to ask you to hold up a second because we have to take a break, and we'll be right back.
And I'm gonna tell y'all something, and y'all see this little Over the Hedge movie. That's my daughter's love of that movie. Y'all. So this is the thing. I had looked at and they usually do this a lot. Yeah, I mean, this is no surprise that they cut them off. I looked at the rest of when they took that break, and I think Ana Navarra started talking on the clip that they had on here. And it just goes to show you on how they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. They don't want their viewers to listen. They want their audience to listen in on what they, what I mean? What they want to say, and what they want them to hear, rather than, and I get it, it's the view, it's no surprise, but I just find it completely insane, because that just goes to show y'all right there that it's more so of just having that common sense. There are a lot of people, that obviously need, those SNAP benefits. Those are, it's people that are literally serving for this country and not receiving checks. So when you're having that right there completely, these federal workers, and when you're having that and they're not getting paid, I feel like that's something right there in general that should be a main priority. President Trump said himself, get that government back open and we'll negotiate. However you want to do it. We'll negotiate. Nothing crazy on what they've been, trying to get in there, but I negotiate. Not only that, but more. You know what I mean? And that right there, it just is wild to me. It's truly wild to me. I'm sure y'all have friends, families, that haven't, received checks and that's struggling. I've seen even posts, on people willing to help out, families or individuals that's in the military and can't provide for them for their families because of this. And it's pretty wild. It's definitely pretty wild. But definitely prayers go out. Like I said, happy Veterans Day. Definitely it's been a really chill day. It's definitely been a chill day. Prayers go out, to anybody that's struggling, going through any mental health issues. Like I've always said, when it comes to my email, my Instagram is I am the Real Recklezz. Y'all find me if anybody need to, reach out or anything. I typically try to respond. I definitely try to respond to comments and stuff like that. But truly, I truly get it. Times have been tough. I literally was just having this talk with my mom, and times have been tough, with a lot of things, and I always just try to stay positive. Keep pushing and keep praying. I'll call them the 3 P's, positive, push, and pray. I always been on that. And I ain't trying to, get all down, on myself and stuff like that. But when I tell y'all that it's something that's definitely true, it's definitely true. I've been through a lot. I'm sure a lot of y'all have, everybody has, that story, but, and it definitely gets tough with a lot of things, but one thing about it is to just keep your head up. And that's a message to a lot of people. Keep your head up and keep pushing through. I'm telling y'all. And keep praying. I feel like a lot of people, they definitely need God. I know a lot of people, even myself, I'm not perfect by all means, but one thing about it is that continue to pray to God. Trust and believe, I always try to look at the fact, and see on how much I'm grateful for, how much I'm blessed with. And, even with just my family, you have this individual saying, I've been going through it. I haven't told y'all this, but I've been going through it, myself, when it comes to, even with health, with YouTube in general, with my family and stuff like that, and one thing about it, I got to be grateful. Definitely got to be grateful. There's people that's actually, going through really, really, really tough times, so definitely been trying to, keep my head up. Others definitely keep y'all head up. Y'all need anything, you already know. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Definitely appreciate y'all. Much love to every single last one of y'all. Catch y'all next one.